And welcome to Lunging with Books. And I chose to introduce myself. I didn't quite trust anyone else. And so I need to remind you that I am the substitute. So we've had a few cancellations. And so this was the butterfly program always comes in handy. So today we're going to talk about butterflies, and I'm ready for spring. I don't know about the rest of you.
A good enough introduction.
Yeah.
we ought to get, this is the backbone, the heart of this whole book.
Jack, thank you. And he's one of Tupelo's outstanding citizens. And I think we have another one here. And are there any others here? So lots of outstanding citizens, though. We're very fortunate that they support the library. Well, we'll get started. The book I'm going to talk to you about is Butterflies at Home in the Earth Lady's Garden. And you shouldn't apologize when you first began, but I'm not an entomologist, but I am an enthusiast. So, but I think we should all be enthusiastic about the natural world. And all of the butterflies in this book are indigenous to the area, to North Mississippi. And I took most of the photographs in my own garden, in my own backyard. So if you provide the habitat, you can attract these flying jewels to your own backyard. And as I said, I took all of the photographs, and I will say that was not an easy task. It was a formidable task because butterflies do not sit still. So it takes a while to get the ones you want. And we'll start with the monarch butterfly. Most of you know the monarch butterfly is imperiled. Its numbers have diminished greatly, and one reason is loss of habitat and the use of pesticides and herbicides and the loss of its host plant, milkweed. If you want to attract butterflies to your garden, you must have nectar plants for the butterflies, but you must also have what they call host plants, which are the plants that they lay their eggs on and which the caterpillars eat. You really cannot have one without the other. You have to have both. And you need to include both in your garden. But this is the monarch, and we'll start with it. And it truly is beautiful. I took this picture in my backyard, and it's on a native plant, and this is called beautyberry. And it's nectaring at the berries there. And this happens to be, well, does anyone know? Is this a male butterfly or a female? Oh my goodness. This is the male, and the way you can tell is it has the dots. Just think MD, medical doctor. So you've got the dots on the hind wings, and I hope you can see those. So that's the male monarch. So you've learned one thing today, right? This is the female. The female does not have the dots, but it has the thicker bands, wing markings. So that's the way you discern the monarch butterfly. Now this is one of the milkweeds you will find in our area, and this is called butterfly weed, and all of the milkweeds are in what they call the Asclepias family. This grows wild in Tupelo. You can see it at Chickasaw Indian Village on the Natchez Trace, and you can see it in other places growing wild. It's absolutely beautiful plant. And this is what they call antelope horns. This is a milkweed that blooms kind of mid-spring, just as the monarch butterflies are getting to our area. And it grows in rather what they call calcareous soil. It's not exactly wonderful fertile soil, but it's absolutely beautiful milkweed plant. All of these these used to grow, all along Coley Road. And they used to grow close to the country club in those fields. And now, of course, you don't see it as much as you used to. It also grows on the road out to my house at Old Town. It really is exquisite, and it blooms at just the right time for the monarch butterfly as it gets to Mississippi. The monarch butterfly, in case you don't know, migrates in the fall to Mexico, where it overwinters in the mountains, and then in the spring it comes back to the United States. It's a perilous journey, and it always makes me nervous. I always want them to come back. A native plant that's just beautiful and indigenous to our area. Sarah Young's my wildflower friend. She knows these.
About what time of spring?
It would be about, the monarchs would return probably about 1st of May, end of April, 1st of May. But it's, there's some variation there. So when they get to the Gulf of Mexico, they have to find a milkweed plant, and they have to mate immediately. And then the generations work their way all the way up to Canada. So it's a magical mystery tour, really. This is green milkweed, and I took this photograph on the lot next to my house. It's not very common, and it is, it's not rare, but it's not common. And it's not the most beautiful wildflower you would ever find, but it's the host plant for the monarch butterfly. So spare that wildflower, and there is a reason for it to grow. Now, is this a monarch butterfly? You're going to have a test after this is over. This is not the monarch. This is the viceroy. And this is what we call mimicry in nature. The reason the viceroy wants to mimic the monarch is because the monarch feeds on milkweed, which makes it distasteful to a lot of predators. But the viceroy does not feed on the milkweed. Well, how do you tell the difference? Well, if you want to be a show-off, and this butterfly lands in your garden, and someone says, "Oh, there's a lovely monarch," and you'll say, "No, dear. This happens to be a viceroy," and the way you tell the difference is it has those two lines in the hind wings there at the bottom. I don't know if you can see them or not, but a beautiful butterfly, and here you see the difference. Same coloration, but definitely a different butterfly. I have lots of viceroys in my garden. This is the red admiral butterfly, and this is a butterfly that overwinters as an adult many times. And on a balmy day in January or February, you can go outside, and the red admiral will alight, just like this one, will alight on your shoulder, and it can, I despair in the winter time sometimes. I'm so anxious for spring to come. But the little, this butterfly, the red admiral, will come out and cheer you up on in the most dismal time of the year. So it's a wonderful butterfly, and it overwinters in the bark on trees and in crevices and logs and that kind of things. And it's interesting. I have a lot of these. Its host plant. Host plants are in the nettle family, and it really prefers stinging nettle. Not something you'd want in your garden, maybe, but you may want to put it in the back, or if you know where it is, just leave it there. I have a lot of these. I don't know why. I haven't seen that much stinging nettle, but anyway, it's a beautiful butterfly, and it's called the red admiral because it has the chevrons on its shoulder. That's stinging nettle. Not exactly a beautiful garden plant, but you might want it if you want the red admiral butterfly. This is the Gulf fritillary butterfly, or you could say fritillary, I suppose. I don't know the correct pronunciation, but this is the cover girl. I guess it's a girl. But anyway, this is a Gulf fritillary, and this photograph I took outside my kitchen window. It's nectaring on one of my favorite nectar plants, and that's a penta. And it has been featured in several publications, including Mississippi Gardeners, Mississippi Magazine, and some others. But it's been around, and it is a lovely photograph. And this butterfly was so cooperative, it sat and posed. Not very many of them will do that. And I say this when I speak to groups of school children. I'll go, "Oh, this is my favorite butterfly," and they always laugh because I say that every time I get to another. Another picture of the Gulf fritillary. Now, this is its host plant. You cannot have the Gulf fritillary butterfly without this host plant. Now, there must be a good old country girl or boy out there who knows what that is. You know? I know you know.
They have many names. Maypop.
Maypop or passion vine. So sometimes you have to come from Pontotoc County, I think. But this is a native vine, and it's so perfect to show you this time of the year. It's called passion vine because of the passion symbolism during Lent and Easter. And it was named by the monks given that name by the monks, Franciscan monks in Mexico or something like that. But you can see the Christian symbolism there. It's absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous vine. A lot of people consider it to be a nuisance. I have planted it in a pot on my patio just for the butterflies, for the caterpillars to come. There are only two species of passion vine in North America, and one is Passiflora incarnata and Passiflora lutea. And I don't know all my Latin names, but I love to say those two because it sort of sounds like you're singing a Puccini aria or something, Passiflora lutea. But anyway, that's Passiflora incarnata, and this is Passiflora lutea. So when we spray our roadsides and our ditches, this is what we are destroying, and you will not have Gulf fritillary butterflies unless you have this vine. Now, some of our garden centers carry passion vines, but they are native to the tropics, and the Gulf fritillary butterfly will lay its eggs on that, and the caterpillars will start to eat, but then they cannot survive. They will die eventually. So you have to have those native plants for the caterpillars. You cannot have butterflies without native plants. This is the variegated fritillary. And it's a little more subtle than the Gulf fritillary, but to me it looks like a Tiffany lampshade. I think it's just beautiful, the subtle sort of colors. And if you'll notice, one of its wings is sort of ragged there, frayed. Obviously a predator got hold of it, but thank goodness it got away. Well, when I was putting the book together, my graphic designer who's helped me with every book, Maggie White, is just wonderful. We had an agreement. I didn't want my photographs to be photoshopped too much. I wanted it to look natural. I wanted everything, I didn't want it too much. So, but when I got there to preview some of the pages she had worked on, it was real funny. In the book, the butterfly has two perfect wings. And I said, Maggie, I wanted it to be natural. She said, you cannot put that poor butterfly in there with that frayed wing. So I went along with Maggie on that one. I think she was right. It is a beautiful butterfly, especially when it's whole. This is the tiger swallowtail, and this is the female. And the way you can tell the female, it has the blue on it. And the tiger swallowtail is one of the first to emerge in the spring, one of the first swallowtails. Its host plants are deciduous trees, native deciduous trees like the poplar tree, elm, oaks, several different species of trees. Here it is nectaring on my woodland phlox. This is a wildflower that grows wild out where I live, and it grows by the creek bank and in my woods, and my phlox is blooming right now. So if you also need some early blooming perennials if you want to attract butterflies. They have to have a source of nectar. Another thing that's blooming right now is the little pink flowers that grow in the grass. All of these things that are blooming right now, henbit, all of these things are wonderful nectar plants for early emerging butterflies. This is the male tiger swallowtail. Now, most people, when they write a butterfly book, usually the swallowtail, they're the beauty queens of the butterfly world. They usually make the front cover. Well, I wanted a swallowtail, and I love this photograph that I took. I took this one in my backyard. But anyway, it ended up on the back cover. And here again, my designer and I, we both had a long discussion, and we felt like the yellow sulfur on the zinnia was a little more artistic and a little bit more unique in some ways. This is the tiger swallowtail, and it's on Lee-Itawamba. This is wildflower, native wildflower, and I took this picture on the road out to my house. Now they spray it and they mow, and it looks real tidy. And I don't have Lee-Itawamba anymore, but it is a native wildflower that grows in our area. If you want to see it, again, just drive around town. I can tell you where wildflowers used to bloom that don't bloom anymore in Tupelo, and I can tell you right now where they grew. But this is a wonderful native plant. It's a great source of nectar for all kinds of pollinators. You can buy this now at garden centers, so plant it in your garden. It's drought tolerant. It is a perennial. It will come back. Oops. This is the tiger swallowtail again. I'm showing this because this is coneflower, and it is a wonderful nectar plant. It is also a native plant. It's native to our area. Now there are a lot of hybrids. You can buy coneflower. It's in just about every color, and sometimes I think horticulturists get a little carried away, but hybridizing. But this is, I like the pink version best. One place I used to see this, the native, and it's not as lush as this hybrid here, growing was at Duckin and at Holland's hillside in just outside of town. So they had a native colony, and those are hard to find these days. But butterflies, they go to these native nectar plants all the time. Okay, we'll see who goes to the head of the class. This is the spice bush swallowtail. And what is unique about the spice bush swallowtail? Oh my goodness. I am so glad I came today. This is the state butterfly of Mississippi. So now remember, if someone asks you, what is the state butterfly of Mississippi, you raise your hand and you say, oh, the spice bush. I got into trouble with the spice bush butterfly. When you write, and I was writing about butterflies for Mississippi Magazine, and or something, in one of my articles, and I said the school children of Mississippi were the ones who voted in the state butterfly. They nominated it, and the garden clubs promoted it, and all this sort of stuff. Well, I got into big trouble. There was this lady who said she had done it, and so I had to write her and sent her an apology. So, but whoever did it, it's a wonderful, wonderful selection. It is a beautiful butterfly. And here's a better picture. And they love zinnias. Wonderful nectar plant. A pack of seeds doesn't cost much. They will bloom in the summertime when it's 105 degrees, so I always plant zinnias. This is the host plant for the spice bush swallowtail. Now, one of its host plants is the spice bush, but it is not that common in the area anymore. If you have a wooded lot that has not been logged or something, you might have it. But now this you might have. Does anyone recognize that flower? Gosh. This is sassafras. You got it? Oh, okay, our forester over there got it. So every group needs one. But this is sassafras, and this is the host plant for the spice bush swallowtail. So without sassafras, we wouldn't have a state butterfly, would we? So here again we see how nature is dependent on different species. Spice bush is the plant. It's a small tree, and it has 3 different kinds of leaves. Solid, like this, the mitten, and then the 3, like this. So, and it grows on my hillside, so I guess that's why I have spice bush swallowtails. Now this looks like kind of a spice bush swallowtail or the eastern black swallowtail, but it's not. It is a black version of the tiger swallowtail, and every now and then you will see a tiger swallowtail that is this color, but it's very beautiful. Here it is again, nectaring on my woodland phlox, so I hope that if you have someplace in your garden for woodland phlox, I hope you plant it just for the butterflies. Now this is the eastern black swallowtail butterfly, and you can tell it's it from the other black swallowtails because it has 2 rows of the yellow dots on it. So it's absolutely a gorgeous butterfly, and it's very common here. And its host plants are in the parsley family, including Queen Anne's lace, carrots, fennel, and dill, and parsley. Have I said parsley? But if you plant parsley at home, and you find caterpillars on your parsley or your dill, then you have the caterpillars of the eastern black swallowtail, and you are so fortunate. And I ask this question everywhere I go. How much parsley do you really eat? I mean, leave it for the butterflies. Now those are the caterpillars. That was my fennel. And they're beautiful caterpillars, and this butterfly is so easy to attract to your garden if you plant these herbs. And then also it's a great way to educate children. They can see the butterfly lay the egg, they can watch the caterpillars eat the parsley, fennel, or dill, and then they can watch them do their little walkabout and spin their chrysalis, and then you can watch them emerge again. So it's just there's a lot that can go on in your garden that can be entertaining. Now this is the zebra swallowtail. I did not take this in my garden, but I have 2 broods of zebra swallowtails every year. I took this at Mary and Faye Maloney's. I don't know how I can remember some things. But they don't always alight and sit still, but when I was out there one day, this one did pose, and they're absolutely gorgeous. And you can see why they're called the zebra swallowtails. And their coloring's a little bit different, and the first brood is a little bit lighter, and the second brood's a little bit darker. So, but absolutely gorgeous swallowtail. This is its host plant. It's the only host plant. Does anyone know what that is? Forester? He got it. You need a degree in forestry. This is the pawpaw. So you have to go way down yonder in the pawpaw patch. But I have this butterfly, so I must have pawpaws somewhere. And I think I took this picture at your house. her old house. So anyway, Sarah Young's house. You would walk up to, I'd drive up to Sarah's when I was taking photographs and walk down her hills. It's where Luann lives now. And I would walk down her hillside, and I can tell you what grew on each side of and the pawpaws grew on the left side. And I believe I took this photograph at her house. This is the pipe vine swallowtail. I've seen this butterfly downtown in the garden at the Presbyterian Church. I have it at my house. And a few years ago, I was invited by two ladies from Amory and to come. They had a special place out in the country, and they wanted me to see their butterflies. And I had a friend who said, well, you just can't go traipsing out to Monroe County with people you don't know. You know those people from Monroe County. And so anyway, she went with me, and lovely, lovely people. And they did have a special place. And pipe vine was growing everywhere. And because of that, there were pipe vine swallowtails everywhere. They were puddling, and there were just hundreds and hundreds. So it was really a magical sight. And this is their host plant. This is the pipe vine. And it's called the pipe vine because the flower is shaped like a meerschaum pipe. If you have Dutch ancestry, maybe you recall that they used to smoke these elaborate pipes, so that's why it's called pipe vine. There are only about 2 or 3 species of pipe vine in our area. The country people used to bring this in to grow up trellises to give them shade on the porch, on the west side or whatever. And it's a lovely vine, and I believe I took this one at Strawberry Plains, this photograph. I've tried to get it started just for the butterflies, but if you have a pipe vine, you want the caterpillars to eat it up. So you have to, I think my garden's pretty, but you have to accept a little fraying around the edges sometimes. This is the giant swallowtail. And I took this picture in my garden, and this is the largest butterfly in North America. And its host plants are in the citrus family. I have no idea what the caterpillars feed on in my neighborhood, but I have about 2 broods every summer. And it is just gorgeous. Here's another picture of it. The coloring's a little bit different here. Again, it's on the phlox. I hope you people have some woodland phlox. But a beautiful butterfly, and I'm still looking for the host plant. I think it may be the toothache tree. I'm not sure, and I think I must have some of those growing down by the creek bank, and that's why I have these butterflies. But it's always exciting to see them. This is the Morning Cloak, and it's called the Morning Cloak because it looks like it's dressed in mourning, and it looks like old vintage velvet if you see its wings. And I believe I took this photograph in early February, late January. It will emerge in the wintertime on kind of a balmy day. So it's a beautiful butterfly in kind of a subtle way, and it will sit still for you because it's got to warm its wings, when it emerges. This is the comma butterfly, and the way you tell, and there's another butterfly called the question mark. Now, what did I write about that? I'll have to read you. This is here, the question mark. As your English teacher insisted, a declarative or interrogative sentence must be followed by the correct punctuation. And for the butterfly enthusiast, clarity in identifying butterflies is sometimes just a matter of a punctuation mark. Such is the case with 2 very similar brush-footed butterflies, the question mark and the comma. So really the only way you can tell the difference is when they fold their wings. And there's a little silver question mark on the question mark, and then on the comma, there's a comma. So here's another opportunity to show your intellect. If you want to impress somebody, they'll say, oh, there's a question mark. You'll say, oh, I believe that's a comma. So anyway, their host plants are the hackberry trees, native trees, so a beautiful butterfly too. And I love those. This is the hackberry butterfly. Now, not every butterfly is just colorful and gorgeous. I have a lot of these because I have a lot of hackberry or sugarberry trees. Really, our species of tree here in this area is sugarberry, not the hackberry. But I have a lot of hackberry butterflies.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Now, this is... That's okay. That's all right. This is the painted lady. Now, butterfly watching is, you don't want everything to be too easy. There's the painted lady, and then there's the American painted lady, and I certainly hope after you leave today you will know the difference. This is beautiful. I took this at my house. Now, this is the American painted lady. It is only indigenous to North America. So how do we know? How can you tell the difference? They look exactly alike, except when their wings are folded. The American painted lady has the two large eye spots on the wings. So that's how you tell that. Here's a painted lady. And then this is not close enough, but this is the painted lady. It's not the American, and it has 4 little spots. And it can be found all over the world because its host plants are in the thistle family, and thistle grows all over the world. So if you're in your yacht pulling up to the French Riviera or something, and you get out to lunch, and you say, oh, there's a painted lady. So anyway, they're all over the world. Thistle grows all over the world. And there's another shot. And this is thistle. This is bull thistle. It's not native or indigenous to our area, but the painted ladies will lay their eggs on it. This is swamp thistle. It is native to our area. It used to grow out where I live. It doesn't anymore. It's been eradicated, but I've used it in flower arrangements. If you wear heavy gloves, it's to me, it's beautiful. This is the American spotted purple. Its host plants are trees in the willow family. And willow trees are the trees that line your stream banks, and they help prevent erosion. And it's a wonderful, wonderful native tree. Not very popular with some people. But anyway, I have lots of American spotted purples. And you can tell this from the swallowtail because it does not have the swallowtails. This is the American red buckeye, and I'll read you what I said about that because I think if I can find it. Well, I'll just paraphrase it. As I said, most people think of buckeyes as a nut. We have buckeye here in northeast Mississippi, the red buckeye. And you put a buckeye in your pocket for good luck. But I'm not sure why this is called the buckeye. Actually, it looks like, well, I guess because of all those eye rings. But it is a beautiful, beautiful butterfly, and it is native to the area. And its host plants are in the snapdragon family. So, wonderful. This is the falcate tip orange butterfly. Here it is sipping nectar on spring beauty, which is very important, early blooming wildflower for pollinators. This butterfly drove me crazy. It only emerges one time a year. In my neighborhood, it feeds on, the caterpillars feed, it lays its eggs and the caterpillars feed on spring cress, which is in the mustard family. And there's a lot that's low and has a lot of standing water. And at the end of March, if you walk by there and you walk in there, all of these little butterflies would fly up. Well, you'd think with hundreds of butterflies I could get one photograph. Well, year after year after year went by, and I just about gave up. And then Cheryl Owen called me one day. It was kind of we both needed to go for a wildflower walk, and she has a place in Union County. Not just, she has a beautiful wildflower garden, but I went there, and there were trilliums everywhere, and it was just unbelievable. And these butterflies were there, and I guess these butterflies are better behaved in Union County because it sat there and let me take its picture, and I was so pleased because you can't wait too many years, you know, you have to keep. This is spring cress. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's blooming right now in the low-lying areas and it likes wet feet. It's a wonderful host plant, nectar plant for pollinators, not just butterflies. This is one of the yellow sulfur butterflies. This is the cabbage sulfur, and I put this in here. I think it's a pretty butterfly, but of course farmers don't like it. People who have gardens, it likes to eat your cabbage and your broccoli and things. The caterpillars do. So it's not very popular, but pretty butterfly nevertheless. This is the pearl crescent spot, and this is a tiny little butterfly, but not all butterflies have to be gigantic. It is just beautiful, and here it's on nectaring on melopodium. There's another photograph, and there it is on buttonbush. This is a wonderful nectar plant for butterflies, and it grows in boggy areas. So, but I love this photograph, and I took this down at the foot of my hill. This is the silver-spotted skipper. Now, I'm going to take up for the silver-spotted skipper. In many of your butterfly books, they describe this butterfly as being rather bug-eyed and homely. But I took this photograph and I did not think that those terms were justified. I thought it was a beautiful photograph. And I like these butterflies. Their host plants are wisteria and I'm trying to think what else. But anyway, it's a beautiful, beautiful butterfly. I have a lot of these. This, of course, is the cloudless sulfur, and it made the cover of the magazine, a book. And another reason I chose it was because the sulfur butterflies are very common, and the zinnia is a wonderful nectar plant. And you really don't have to go to a lot of trouble or expense to attract butterflies to your garden, and they're all beautiful. So I thought this photograph was more artistic. It was not intentional. I don't know how it happened. So anyway, well, back to the monarchs. One fall, Mike and I went to Point Clear, Alabama, and we were at the Grand Hotel, beautiful place, and I looked outside. I thought I was going to hyperventilate. Outside, just everywhere, and falling from the trees and alighting on your shoulders, and they were just everywhere. These were the monarchs, and of course they were getting ready to migrate. And I understand it's not quite like this now, but they were everywhere, as you can see, just like that, and just beautiful. So I began with the monarch butterfly, and I will end with the monarch butterfly. We don't want to lose the monarch butterfly, and we don't want to lose any of these butterflies. Even if you are not inspired by the beauty of this insect, we must protect them. We need them. We desperately need pollinators if we want to feed our people. And I'll end with this. There's something ethereal, almost magical about butterflies. And throughout the ages, perhaps no other insect has captured the imagination or brought so much joy to human beings. Butterflies come in all sizes and colors. Like flying iridescent jewels, butterflies add movement, color, and whimsy to the garden setting. The life cycle of the butterfly, as it goes from egg to lowly caterpillar to chrysalis to an adult that takes to the skies, has intrigued scientists and inspired poets and artists since the dawn of civilization. For almost every religion, the butterfly is symbolic of hope and resurrection, so it's most appropriate for this time of the year, and renewal. The butterfly may be an insect with the requisite 6 legs, but a butterfly transcends bug status. A butterfly is often the first creature to open our eyes to the wonders of the natural world. And so it was for this author. And I sincerely hope that you will invite these beautiful creatures into your garden. Thank you.
What is the name of the very tiny little flower that's in everybody's lawn and there are thousands?
That is Spring Beauty. Spring Beauty, and it's blooming right now and starting to bloom. And if you know it's edible, you can eat it. Of course, it might take you a few hours to dig up enough to eat, but if you would just leave it and let it bloom, it will eventually disappear. It cannot tolerate hot weather. So just wait and mow until after the Spring Beauty has bloomed.
Two questions. Do other butterflies migrate? And the second question is, what's their main predator?
Yes, other butterflies migrate. The sulfur butterflies migrate. The monarchs go to Mexico, but the yellow sulfurs, in the spring, they're heading west. They're coming from the southeast. And in the fall, they like to go to Daytona, Florida. So anyway, and their main predators are probably birds and spiders. You know I'm a bird watcher, so I'm conflicted. So, but nature has its way, you know, so, but probably birds are the primary predator, but spiders can get them too. So,
What about hellebores? Does anybody appreciate hellebores? Is mine blooming?
caterpillars,
No, any butterflies.
hellebores. No, see, that is not a native plant. I don't think there's, they made nectar at hellebores, but they would not lay their eggs on that. It would not be a host plant for a butterfly. But there are a lot of wonderful field guides out there, just not my book. And you can't have too many. And so I like some books with illustrations too.
What kind of camera did you use to take it?
I'm trying to think the name of my camera. Oh, that was another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I believe it's a Nikon or something, but I have a good macro lens on it, so that's for close-ups. I don't have a telescopic lens, but it's a small camera, one I can take outside with me. I just can't lug all that stuff around. But I do believe when you go outside, we are such a narcissistic group of people these days. We take pictures of everything. You know, you can't go outside with it. Go out, leave your cell phone, leave your camera just inside sometimes, and just go out and enjoy the beauty of the butterflies in the garden. I love watching butterflies when I don't have to take the picture. It's a lot easier. It's not as frustrating. So enjoy the beauty of the natural world and be in the moment, you know. So, but it's fun to take pictures of them also, but take time to go out and just experience them.
One other thing, last year I had dill growing, and I've been saving it from my cucumbers. So, and it was so lush, so I went out to gather it, and it was just stalks.
Yes.
And all these little, just like you.
Yes,
So someone then told me, though, that would be the swallowtail.
yes.
So I thought, well, maybe this year I'll just plant some dill for them, and not worry about the pickles.
Well, I like pickles too, but I never will forget, I was doing a program, and someone was doing a program on herbs, and she saw me back in the back, and she was saying, someone had raised their hand and asked about that caterpillar that was eating her dill and her parsley, etc. And she saw me, and she said, well, she said, if the earth lady was not here, I'd tell you to pick that sucker off and stomp it flat. And she said, but I know she would disagree, and she, and I really, maybe you could grow, you can buy dill. So, but I do love dill pickles. Pardon?
Plant enough for both.
Plant enough for both, yes. And you might want them, I've tried putting nets over things, that doesn't always work either, so, but it's, but anyway, I hope you will, it's a wonderful hobby, and learn to identify them, and now you can go home, the state butterfly of Mississippi is good, okay, and anyway, take care.